Hello viewers, and it is my pleasure to welcome you for yet another episode of the Stakeholders Outreach Initiative by P3 World Council. The updates and the feedback that we are getting from across the world in different regions and different markets and different sectors with regards to the impact of the COVID pandemic, the impact on the PPP ecosystem, and the recovery mechanisms that are being adopted by nations, by ministries, by governments. And that is something that we look forward to, and we are in the process of sharing it across the world. This is in line with one of the objectives that we are keeping, to have a cross-pollination of ideas, best practices and opportunities, as well as innovation across the world. We today are in the continent of Africa, and today we are in the country called as Tanzania. Tanzania is known for its rich wildlife, and it is one of the world's renowned safari destinations. And today, to have this interview and to have this discussion with me is Dr. John Mboya, who is the PPP Commissioner with the Ministry of Finance and Planning in the United Republic of Tanzania. Before I begin, let me first give a brief introduction of Dr. Mboya. Dr. Mboya is an economist with Ph.D. in business management. He's a certified in public-private partnerships and strategic management. He has 15 years experience working with government in the areas of private sector development and investment climate advisory, and 10 years experience in public-private partnerships. As regards PPPs, he coordinated preparation of PPP Policy of 2009, the PPP Act Cap 103 of 2010, which was revised in 2014 and 2018, and PPP Regulations of 2015 that have been repealed by PPP Regulations 2020. He has coordinated and advised on preparations of several PPP pipelines under various stages of PPP life cycle. Thank you, Dr. John, for taking time out of your schedule and sharing with us insights with regards to the PPP ecosystem in Tanzania.
Thank you, sir.
All right. To begin with, Dr. John, one of the things that we are trying to understand from different parts of the world is to measure or to gauge the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic that has impacted in an unprecedented way across the world. So to begin with, I would want to ask you, how has business, overall business been impacted in Tanzania because of the COVID pandemic? I'm sure your country would have gone through a series of lockdowns. Can you please share with us your insights as an experienced professional in regards to different sectors as well, and the general outlook of the COVID-19 impact?
Okay, thank you very much, Hashel, for the question. And you know, the COVID-19 has affected all countries in the world. Every individual in the world has been affected. The magnitude could not be the same, but what we know is that everyone has been affected. But now it comes to mind how the countries are, addressing the problem on hand. So Tanzania, like many other countries, adopted measures to protect the spread of the disease using the WHO, health standards. And as you see, there are sectors which globally, strictly speaking, must be affected, like tourism. When you restrict the travels, the tourism sector is affected. That is straightforward. People are not traveling. Yeah. So capital as well is not moving.
Okay.
It's restricted. You see, and in many other sectors which depend on the international movements. So actually, this is the impact which no one can deny. But as I said, it matters the size of the magnitude and how the countries take measures to address on its specific circumstance. So for instance, in Tanzania, we had the lockdown, as we said, we had the lockdown, the schools were closed, the people were adopting, the standards, the health standards, wash your hands, having facilities to wash their hands, the households, public places like churches, mosques, offices in the other places, all adopted the standards, the WHO standards. But to Tanzania, I can see there is a very, very good lesson to the world, which I have to share for sure. It is professional, yeah. Something which is done with some moral standards, the way we perceive the situation.
Okay.
So before that, I have to say if we talk on the area of PPP, because you know, in the PPP we adopt what we call the PPP life cycle. This is very important to understand. Okay. Where a project is identified, it goes through pre-feasibility study, feasibility study, and so forth. Of importance is that you have to engage stakeholders.
Correct.
Now, if you have the COVID-19, then our meetings were not possible at that time. We had to opt for the video conferencing. But Hasha, the video conferencing is not as effective as a physical meeting.
I understand.
You know, you can evaluate yourself.
Yes.
So you can see when I need to meet my stakeholders, then you have to use video conferencing. It is not as effective as physical meeting. So I can see myself, I felt this is affecting my way of doing business. But things have changed. You know, the government has, has eased a lot of restrictions, and you can see the markets are working on very well. So something to learn from Tanzania is that our government provide a very good wisdom to remove fear. Because when you are afraid, when you are afraid of the situation, then the situation becomes worse.
Correct.
You see, you know, we depend on God. I know yourself, Hasha, you depend on God?
Yes.
Because absolutely. God is the source of everything.
That's
the source of our well-being, and is the source of prosperity.
Correct.
And the science and the knowledge, and all of that comes from God.
Correct.
Faith and the science. I learned this. Faith and the science. They are connected. 100% connected.
Yes.
You know, the law of nature and the law of grace all come from God. So our government saw this very, very important step to make sure that the citizens, you know, submit everything to God. And God heard our prayers, and our country is very safe. It's very safe. Okay. We are working as usual, markets are moving, everything is contained. So this is what I could share with regard to Tanzania. But lastly, when I was trying to go through the WHO website, I see the situation is worse. The situation is worse. And I think up to today, there are about 31,664,184 cases worldwide, and about 1.1 billion, 1.1 million, 156,895. I'm sorry. There is about 972,221 deaths worldwide. Okay. And in case of Africa, we have about 1,156,895 cases, which is about 3.65% of cases worldwide.
That is impressive.
So it depends on how you respond there. Yeah.
That is impressive to know, Dr. John. I mean, I really liked one thing that you said, that you have submitted everything to God, and certainly God is always there. He's always there to protect us, and He has, taken the country through with regards to the COVID-19 pandemic. What I want to ask you, Dr. John, is in your introduction, I read about that you have been associated with PPPs, especially in the Tanzanian ecosystem since last close to around like more than 10 years now. How do you see, I mean, it has evolved, especially with regards to the challenges that the market faces or the ecosystem faces? Can you please highlight with regards to what are the brief challenges, obstacles, or the issues the PPP ecosystem in Tanzania faces? I mean, if you can share us how it has evolved, how do you see its outlook, and also how it has got impacted as well in the light of the existing issues and challenges.
Maybe before going to the challenges, maybe you could allow me to discuss a little bit on the, the PPP structure in Tanzania, so maybe people could understand well how the PPP framework is working here.
Correct.
And maybe I will wind up by talking one or two challenges which we are facing.
Sure.
So maybe I think Tanzania
Can you
is
be a bit loud,
sharing
Dr.
this.
John? You can just be a bit loud.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. We can just speak loudly. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do you get me now?
Yes, this is perfect.
Okay.
This is perfect.
Okay. So maybe to trace some history for Tanzania, we had something like 20 PPPs from 1994 to 2011, worth 1 billion USD.
Okay.
And this data is found under the World Bank PPP database. And the investments were in energy, health, water, education, ICT, and the transport. So if we try to see on all those PPPs, results were mixed. So we have successes and failures. So every country in the world, I think you will agree with me, there are successes and failures. So we learn from both successes and failures so that we customize and and build a strong framework which will address the challenges and capitalize on the successes. So you see, this foundation provides a very good, this framework, this experience provides a very good foundation to learn from, and this was used so by our country to adopt the PPP policy of 2009, and then the PPP law. So the PPP reforms began in 2009, where we prepared the PPP policy. So you must have a policy to set the guidelines correct. The general guidelines, procedure, the enabling environment, how it should look like in the country for the legal and institutional frameworks to work well. So after that, then in 2010, we developed the PPP law, the PPP Act of 2010, which was amended in 2014, and then another round we amended this in 2018. So the spirit is to provide for a more friendly, a more robust enabling environment for PPP to work. We had the PPP regulations of 2015, of course, to implement the PPP legislation of 2010, but this has been revised in 2020, effective from January this year. And so you can see Tanzania has a very strong enabling environment for PPP, for sure. Every element which you require for the international best practice is available in Tanzania. So the PPP framework provides a very good foundation to correct for the challenges which we encountered. So we are very careful to study the challenges, and now you must have the framework which will address the challenges. And for you to have a good project, which is a very good message I'm trying to say here, the big issue here internationally, in every country, we find that we are striving to have good projects. How do you have good projects if you don't prepare them well? Then in Tanzania, if you read our framework, you need to prepare a concept note. So the contract authority needs to prepare a concept note. And then he submits it to us. Once we approve it, go on with the pre-feasibility study. So there's some sort of upgrading, a more deeper analysis as you go along the PPP life cycle. Then once the pre-feasibility study is approved, you go to, we allow them to prepare the feasibility study. Then once that is approved, is tendered out for investors. Then tendering happens. You expect then you are going to have an agreement, agreement, and then you negotiate. So you need to go through systematic life cycle so that you have good projects. This is what I'm trying to say, which is very much reflected in Tanzania. So since we have this framework well developed in 2018, we have about 40 pipelines under preparation, and 20 of them are close to go for tendering, to marketing. Yeah. So we are planning to conduct what you call market sounding. So Hasha, when you conduct market sounding, what you need to see is to foresee the interest of the market. Mr. Hasha, are the investors, are they going to be interested in this project also, and so forth. So we are conducting this exercise, but because of the COVID-19, this is another point I have to mention. We were affected, so we are planning again in consultation with the World Bank. World Bank, they help us so much to package the projects. And these projects are in the sector in tourism, transport, trade, education, sanitation, and solid waste management. Maybe before, let me speak something which is very important. So our PPP definition, for people to understand, adopts a very good best practice. That, you know, it must be a contractual arrangement between a contract authority and a private party. And in that arrangement, the private party undertakes to perform contract authority's function on behalf of the contracting authority. So the private party comes to perform any activity, a function on behalf of the contract authority. That's very important. So there must be an institutional function to deliver. And the private party must assume substantial financial, technical, economic, and operational risk associated with the project. So this is very, very important to make sure that the all of life, PPP risks are transferred to the private party in the optimal way. And lastly, you must divide a mechanism to pay the private party, but according to performance. So in the agreement, you must set up the KPIs. Once the private party, implement the KPIs very well, then they are paid according to what you agreed in the agreement, and not otherwise. So the government the users could pay the private party, or the government could pay, we call it availability payment, or both of the ways could use it to, to pay the private party. So maybe lastly, the challenges which we are encountering are not so much different from which we find in the literature for countries which maybe are starting. Or we find maybe some commitments, you need to build commitments to the contracting authority, because this is a new procurement method.
Yes.
We have been used to conventional arrangement. So you expect it. You must convince people, oh, this PPP is going to deliver, it's going to deliver. They will ask you how, then you explain. So this is a challenge which we have been addressing.
Yes.
And we need to,
I understand.
Political support, Political support is also required. We have to, to advocate for our leaders to understand the arrangement. And as I said, this is not so different from other countries because this is a new arrangement. But fortunately, as I said, we are trying to adopt a system, an arrangement, which correct for, for mistakes which the government have been doing. And this is not only for Tanzania. Many countries are striving to have good projects. How do you have good projects if they are not prepared well? So you need to spend time. Now, when you come to spend time, spend 2 years, 3 years to package a project. I think in most countries in the world are being affected in this area. So wait for 3 years. Yes, you have to wait for 3 years because we need a good project. And once you have a poor project, you cannot turn that to be a good project. So this is very serious,
No, I understand. What you mentioned is correct, Dr. John, that when the change happens, certainly change, nobody likes it. But then, as you said, from the traditional procurement method, when you go to a PPP, I mean, certainly there is a difference. And these challenges will be there. What you mentioned is correct with regards to convincing the political leadership as well as, the entire ecosystem. Because, see, there are many stakeholders involved in the PPP projects. And that is the reason why, to make sure that it's a win-win situation, it is one of the biggest challenges, not only in Tanzania, but across the world. I mean, in all major world markets, it's the same. It's always there. What I want to understand from you, Dr. John, is how do you see the investment outlook for the Tanzanian market? I mean, which are the sectors which are attracting investments currently, or in the coming 6 to 7 months or a year's time? Which sectors do you see would see an uptake with regards to the investment outlook?
Okay, so before moving that, I had to conclude a point that despite those challenges, we have been able to, to manage, and we have a very good political support, because otherwise you should not have those 40 projects in 2 years.
Okay.
So a very good support. We are trying to, to advocate for more.
Correct.
And when we read in the literature, it is because most countries had bad lessons. This is a very bad experience which most countries had. So most of them are advocating to have a win-win situation.
Yes.
Win-win situation. So you private party, you come, and then we, the government, we need to have a good deal. We should have a deal which will benefit the private party only. We should have a deal which will benefit the government, will benefit the citizens on win-win position. So this is what we are advocating, and I agree on this. When the government maybe sometimes they need us to be careful on what we try to say.
Correct.
So as far as the investment outlook is concerned, I have to say correctly that when you talk of investments, you have PPPs, public-private partnerships, then you have commercial investments. So in Tanzania, commercial investments are regulated under the Tanzania Investment Act, and the PPPs are, overseen by the Public-Private Partnership Act Cap 103 and the Regulations 2020, which I said. So the investment outlook for Tanzania is very promising, very good. It's very good, very good. So Tanzania is one of the best countries in Africa and in the world as far as the investment is concerned.
Okay.
I'm very happy to announce this. It's a very good country. It's a very, very conducive country to invest. Why? I will give you the reasons.
Please, yeah.
So we have an abundance of natural resources in terms of we have in terms of geographic location, arable land, which is very good, mineral deposits, raw material supply, good market size, suitable market policy orientation, and the world-renowned attractions which you mentioned. I like that. You said we have Serengeti, Kilimanjaro, Ngorongoro, in the islands of Zanzibar. By the way, have you been in Tanzania in those places?
No, I haven't been. I would love to be, and I would love to see the safari in Tanzania. I'm sure you'll host me.
They're wonderful. They are wonderful, my friend. They are wonderful. Yeah. So we are also experiencing a very good growth, GDP growth, in a very sustainable manner. When you have a country that the GDP is growing every year, there's a very good message to investors, because the market size, it sends a lot of signal to investors, that the market size is going to be there. People are going to buy what you are going to produce. So it is very significant to investors. Inflation is a single digit, around 4%. And we are politically stable. And it is one of the countries in Africa whose governance is very strong.
Good.
You see, our president is very strong, a model for the world, a model for Africa. I think you have witnessed this. For the reforms to happen, you must have commitment. You must have good governance, which our country is doing very well. We have a very good business and investment climate. And when you say that the country, we are continuously improving the investment climate. What matters to the country, any country in the world, is the commitment to reform in the business and investment climate. We are doing that. Our country is strategically located. It's a gateway to 6 landlocked countries: Uganda, DRC, Rwanda, Burundi, Zambia, and Malawi. So we are fortunate. Yeah, it's a good country.
That's true.
Yeah, and we have access to ESC, SADC market, WHO. You see, you have to address all this. Yeah, and the WHO. I'm sorry, WHO, World Trade Organization. So we have a good market for investors to sell the product. So in far as potential sectors are concerned, maybe let me provide a short account of the sectors which attracted investments despite the COVID-19. We have, according to the Tanzania Investment Report, foreign private investment increased by 4.5% to USD 16,204.8 million from USD 15,509.7 million in 2017. So we are doing very well in investments.
Okay.
The industrial sector is growing. The agriculture sector is growing. Economic infrastructure, which is home to PPPs, is also growing. So in terms of investment prospects in both PPPs and the normal investments, for sure, we are very good. We are very well placed.
Okay. Do you think, Dr. John, what you just mentioned, because my next question was in regards to what I'm asking, but you answered it to me already, that what makes a country or what makes a project investment worthy? And what you just mentioned, some of the few points were the market's outlook and the way people look at it, and also a stable political leadership. Now, you just mentioned that the country is having a stable political leadership that has enabled Tanzania to have this kind of investment outlook. That's what I see. And as you just mentioned, I mean, there are multiple sectors. I'm sure the way you are describing, there are multiple sectors that are seeing rather or attracting investments. Uh, I mean, with regards to the upcoming market recovery as well. Which are the major sectors you would highlight, Dr. John, that would that you would see would be attracting a lot of investments or seeing a lot of PPP projects in the coming days?
Yeah, for sure. I will provide you account of the sectors which are covered under the PPP law.
Mm-hmm.
But for sure, you have to talk of transport sector,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. You have pipelines. You have to talk of the health sector. You have to talk of the education sector. We are having student hostels, PPPs under preparation. Yeah, you are talking of ICT sector. Yeah, you are talking of agriculture and many other sectors which
Okay.
I
And
very big.
how about tourism? Because as I mentioned, Tanzania is known for its safari. So, are you considering any PPPs in the tourism sector as well?
Sure, because we don't have any discrimination as far as the sectors are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So all contract authorities, yeah, this is a good question. All contract authorities have opportunity to identify a PPP project
Mm-hmm.
whose characteristics qualify with the definition which I provided.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so nothing prevents them from coming up with the projects,
Mm-hmm.
and we are having some consultation with them. I know we are going to have some projects. Yeah.
Okay.
I know we have one project, hotel project,
Mm-hmm.
um, which we are considering to implement under PPP. Yeah.
Okay. One area that you just mentioned in your in a conversation right now is ICT. So I'm sure ICT or digitalization is something that is happening across the world. Many countries are transforming. Our systems are changing. So in regards to when you mention ICT and you are expecting investments to happen or even PPPs. So what aspect of ICT you can you please elaborate more on that?
Yeah, so and ICT in most cases opportunities exist under ICT infrastructure for
Infrastructure.
the ICT infrastructure.
Okay.
But
Okay.
fortunately for Tanzania, nothing limits the telecommunication sector maybe to come
Correct.
up with a project could be implemented under PPP.
That's
Fortunately, we have a good experience in the ICT sector.
okay.
We have the mobile phones, previously used to be under PPP.
Mm-hmm.
So this qualified to be under PPP.
Mm-hmm.
We have the mobile phones industry, you
Okay.
see, where the government is having some collaboration in one way or another. For example, we have the TTCL in Tanzania Telecommunication Company, and many others. So PPP has a very good potential to work under the ICT sector. And
Okay.
if you go to the PPP World Bank database, you're going to see ICT is one of the sectors which is leading to have good
Yes.
pipelines under PPP. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. What I'm understanding, Dr. John, from our conversation is that certainly I mean, what I can see is Tanzania is seeing a huge demographic shift, because of which the need to have a more larger infrastructure that is in fact fueling the need and the investment climate out there in the country. And since the sectors that you mentioned, these are very basic: healthcare, education, tourism, infrastructure. These are the need of any country. And what you are just mentioning, with the stable political leadership, I'm sure the country is on a path to give some good returns to global investors as well. What the next question that I want to understand is, which is something laying the foundation of a PPP ecosystem. Since you've been associated with the PPP ecosystem since last 10 years, and you just mentioned that the PPP law has seen amendments like 2 to 3 times. What about the aspect of building the skilled resources or skilled professionals which address or which can manage the complexity of PPP projects? So how is Tanzania, or how is the PPP unit under your leadership managing the entire aspect of capacity building and skill development, or rather getting the next generation ready or the next leadership ready for PPP projects?
Yeah, thank you. This is a good question, and for any country with a solid framework like ours, you need to prepare people. So we needed to extend capacity building programs to contracting authorities, especially the project officers who should help the contract authorities, in terms of coordination to make sure that the projects, go through smoothly in the PPP life cycle. So in Tanzania, have since we started, we have trained something like 900 officials, in different causes. And fortunately, we have collaborated with the World Bank to extend what we call the PPP FMG Foundation causes.
PPMG, yes.
Foundation cause to, close to 100 officials have benefited from the training. So in Tanzania, we have a good, we have a good foundation for PPP skills.
Okay.
In contract authorities and also in the private sector, ready to move forward. Because these projects are so complex, Sasha, and they require, a lot of analysis.
That's true.
So you understand what you have to do when you talk of technical assessment, economic assessment, environmental assessment, legal assessment, and so forth. So you need to know for sure what should be done in all those assessments. And the feasibility studies which we are talking should be living documents. I mean that you should make sure that you have a document which will address challenges which people are facing. Yes. So everyone will be happy with the project. Correct. The project is successful, yes. And it brings a memorable, lessons to the country.
Yes.
So collaboration with the development partners is very, very important.
Correct.
And fortunately, development partners worldwide have a very good interest in extending capacity building programs to assist countries to come up, with the skills that are required.
Yes. But what you just mentioned, see, one thing that we are advocating across all the PPP units and the stakeholders across the world is to develop local talent. Because what we feel is, Dr. John, PPPs are something that has the potential to create a lot of jobs as well. So it's important that we have young leaders, young leadership especially, who can, take on the challenge of the at a young age, or rather, at the beginning of the career, so they understand the complexities at a very early age. And as the system evolves, they too evolve with that. And not only the local employment generation, that is something that we are emphasizing on as well. Thank you, Dr. John. I mean, you gave us a very brief outlook, and I'm sure my appeal to global stakeholders and investors would be that yes, Tanzania is a promising market. What Dr. John just mentioned is the country, the indicators or the elements on which we measure a country's investment index. Tanzania, as per what Dr. John has just mentioned, it looks to be positive, and it looks to give some good positive returns in the days to come by. I'm sure, Dr. John, Tanzania would be seeing economic recovery, in the next 6 to 7 months from the COVID-19 pandemic. My last appeal to you, or my last question to you would be, what would be your message to global investors and stakeholders who are watching this interview across the world? Because our followers are in different parts of the world. It's a mix of investors and stakeholders. So what would be your closing message or an appeal to global investors and stakeholders about Tanzania?
Okay, thank you. So maybe because I see challenges as regards to projects which investors are submitting, allow me to speak a little bit on what should be, addressed when the investors have projects under unsolicited projects. So our PPP regime allows projects from the government. We call them solicited projects, and the projects from investors, correct, we call them unsolicited projects.
Yes.
So my message to investors, whoever has a project, to submit to us. So Regulation 7.1 says, before undertaking a feasibility study from an unsolicited project, the private party shall submit a pre-feasibility study to the contracting authority. And the number 2 says, all projects proposed by the private party to be done under a PPP arrangement shall not be governed by MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. So another point which I need to stress here, as regards the unsolicited projects, in which I think is common to all PPP regimes all worldwide, you find it in Regulation 11.2F, that we require them to enlist or to describe how the proposal, how the project is innovative and unique. Innovative and unique. I have to emphasize again, innovative and unique, supported by evidence that the private party is the sole provider and owner of the innovation. So I think this is an area where many investors miss out when they submit projects to us. They should make sure that the project which they are submitting to us is not the project which the government is able to do. No. So if it does not comply with this, then it cannot be qualified under unsolicited PPP arrangement. Secondly, the second point I needed to emphasize is that in Tanzania, PPPs are coordinated by the Ministry of Finance and Planning. So contracting authorities submit the projects to us, and then we give our recommendations in line with with the law. So as I said, the project moves from the concept note to the pre-feasibility study, to the feasibility study, and so forth. And I remember you asking me, what should we do to have a good project? Oh, okay, the answer is that you need to prepare well. You need to make sure that the project is bankable, and the project is going to be bankable only if it goes through the systematic life cycle, the processes which I have mentioned, so that we have a good project. So we have the Ministry of Finance as overseer of the PPP program, and we have municipal PPPs. Municipal PPP and local government authorities, we have a PPP node under the President Office Regional Administration in the local government, which takes care of all those small-scale PPPs, and then they go to us, the Ministry of Finance PPP unit, for final recommendations. And the approval of the PPPs in Tanzania is the PPP Steering Committee, which is mandated to approve projects in Tanzania. So once the feasibility study is completed, you submit to the PPP Steering Committee for approval. But very interesting, the PPP law is delegated the approval mandate to contract authorities to approve small-scale PPPs.
Yes.
A small-scale PPP is a project of investment capex below 20 million USD. So if it is below that, then it is a small scale. So our law allows the contract authorities to approve, the account officers of the contract authorities to approve such projects.
That's true.
But the law provides, the regulations provide for very good linkage, whereby they have to submit to the PPP unit in the Ministry of Finance, so that we make sure that everything is in order.
That's true.
So any investor with an unsolicited project, the government cannot give support. We don't extend financial support.
Correct.
Or guarantee. And I think we borrow this from many countries. If you come up with a unique idea, why are you coming to request for government support in terms of guarantee? Show that you are the owner of the innovation and you have the muscle to implement the project. We are there to help you. Maybe lastly, as you asked me, let me share with you some of the issues which I think should move forward. The PPP framework, the PPP, for the PPP to be successful.
Sure.
You must have projects prepared well, good preparation. I think that this is number one.
Yes.
This is number one. Unless you have projects prepared well, then the PPP will not work as required. And secondly, competitive procurement. Competitive procurement, but after the project has been prepared. So you procure only after you finalize the feasibility study. You cannot have the concept not in it, then you make procurement. You will be wasting public resources. Strong commitment at all levels, I think we discussed this already, is extremely important.
Yes.
And this is not only for the PPP projects, but for all kind of projects, be commercial, public projects. We call them conventional arrangement, conventional projects and so forth. And you mentioned already, Herschel, that capacity building is extremely important. And if you come to invest in Tanzania, and I know in any other country in the world, we need technological transfer to the citizens. And the empowerment of citizens is very important. And the preference of local supplies. Once, if the local supplies is available in-house, then we could give our people, our local people, some preferences to procurement.
Correct.
But without discriminating anything, because we have to adhere to international laws. I know, understand. But some preference to our locals must be respected.
Yes. Yes.
And well-informed negotiation is very important. So as I said, even if the project goes through all those stages I've been mentioning, then we must oversee a negotiation process to make sure that we have the win-win situation where the government benefit and the private party benefit. So if you find that if it is only the private party that is benefiting, it's very chaotic, and
I understand that.
The government, we cannot understand it. Yeah, very bad.
That's true.
And maybe sound project administration, you must have a project officer and the project team, management team to oversee the project in all its life cycle. And I know in some cases for the projects which are complex in size and domestic capacities are not available in house, countries are allowed to engage a transaction advisor to help them prepare projects. So I thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. John, for taking time out of your busy schedule and sharing such deep insights with regards to the Tanzanian PPP ecosystem. I'm sure in the coming days, as the markets recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, I'm sure Tanzania would see a lot of uptake with regards to PPP projects and a lot of investments as well, because of the entire narrative that you have given us about the entire investment outlook for Tanzania. Thank you so much once again. And on behalf of our followers for P3 World Council and my team, I would like to thank you so much.
Thank you very much.